Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series. This is second in the series here for 2016. Good morning, Dr. Garvin.
Good morning, Millie. Welcome back. Today we are welcoming to the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series Nancy Dew from Hy-Vee, dietitian out here locally.
Good morning.
Welcome. How are you, Nancy?
I'm good.
Good. Great to have you. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and visit with us. So, Nancy, what we're going to hit you with is several questions, because I've been asking folks at Weste Drug, what kind of things would you like to hear from each guest? And so I've got a handful of hodgepodge of questions, and I know that Millie has done the same on the
I've been asking all morning long for folks to send me their questions. And you can still do that. If you want to call in with your questions, 263-8600. If you want to text your question in, because some people don't like to be on the air, 263-8600, same number.
Perfect.
I remember last year coming to this and having spent time preparing some things, and we didn't even get to it. I'm just, Yep.
Well, I'm going to steal from the questions that have been asked to ask my own question. So this morning, as I was hurrying out the door to get here for the radio show, I got to thinking about the fact that we all live such busy lives and we're all on the go all the time. And how do we, or what recommendations do you have for us? How do we, in my case, grab a healthy breakfast that's going to tide me over for more than just 10, 15 minutes, that's not full of fat, that's not unhealthy?
Right.
So,
oh boy, I could probably talk the whole show about this. Just depends on what kind of, what your goals are or what your diet strategies are. But probably a super easy thing is, first off, if you're going to use a grain product, if you're going to use a tortilla or bread or something like that as a basis for breakfast, for toast or whatever, get a good quality bread. Get something that's 100% whole grain for the first ingredient, and then topping that with a protein like a nut spread, either peanut or sunflower butter or cashew butter or something like that. Does
that mean peanut butter is not part of that group?
Peanut butter is.
It is.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Perfect.
So just a smear of peanut butter on it, and then instead of using jelly, which is, it just is a more sugar than fruit, try putting some fresh fruit on it. Bananas are great. Using a whole wheat tortilla, spread it with peanut butter, put a banana in there, roll it up, and it's like a burrito that you're eating on the way. I love
Elvis
pear.
would love that.
Probably.
Peanut butter and banana. Absolutely.
There you go.
I'm sorry, you love pear.
I love the combination of pears and peanut butter. And it's harder to do a pear in a roll, but you can really easily do it on a peanut butter sandwich. So, and depending on how much carb you're trying to get or not get, you can use, your needs are probably much greater. You're a man, you're tall, and you're younger than me, so you can probably do the denser, larger slices of bread that might have 20 grams of carbohydrate a slice.
Okay.
You just want to make sure it's a good quality. Bread is not necessarily a place to go for, I need to get the cheapest bread that's out there. If you're using that, it ought to be nutritious.
Sure.
So it should have some fiber in it. You probably want to have at least 3 grams of fiber per slice of bread. And the fact that it's whole grain is going to make it a little bit higher in protein. So toast, peanut butter, sliced pears nice and thick, and put it in there. And then a little bit of peanut butter on the other piece of bread, and make out. You have to take the seeds out of the pear.
I suppose, yes.
But I wouldn't peel it. I just slice it nice and thick and put it right on the sandwich. I like that combination real well. So that's one idea.
Okay.
If you're doing more high protein kind of things and you don't want to do so much carbohydrate, this is a recipe I got from Mary Whitaker. She is a retired school teacher, but I know her from church and stuff. And she made this one time for a thing at church, which was just incredible, and I share this recipe all the time. 1 carton of egg beaters. She used Southwest style, so it has a little bit of peppers and stuff in it.
Sure.
Okay, now, Mary, help me remember this. 10-ounce package of frozen spinach that you thaw and squeeze all the juice out of,
okay?
So you get rid of all the runny stuff.
Yep.
A carton of cottage cheese. I usually use a 24-ounce carton, a big carton, so it's a big carton of cottage cheese. And then you throw in whatever other cheese you want to, some shredded whatever, okay? So you can make that. You can make that in a casserole dish and bake it for probably at least 40 minutes. Or this is the fast breakfast thing. You do it in muffin tins.
Oh,
so
okay.
you just do it in muffin tins, bake them off on the weekend. When they're done, freeze them, throw them in a Ziploc bag, and then that's something that you can really easily thaw out. It's high protein, low carb, and another. It doesn't have fiber in it, but I suppose you could add some flax or chia or something.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
that would be, I've never done that, but I don't know why I haven't done that, because that's a good idea.
There you go.
To throw some chia in there. But that's a real high protein kind of thing. So some people are sustained better with a high fiber breakfast. Some people are sustained better with a high protein breakfast.
Sure.
So you just kind of have to know what you are. No one is sustained by a high carb, low fiber breakfast. That's the breakfast that makes you hungry in 2 hours, and you
short
start
period of time.
searching.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So if you do the carb, make sure you've got a decent amount of fiber in there. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
Perfect. All right, so that gives us a little bit of a jumping off place, and it leads into a question that some folks have posed to me to ask you, and that is real straightforward. How do I honestly assess my diet? You said that one person might be better held for a longer period of time on a high protein, someone else on a high fiber meal. But in when we talk about medications and how well we do with taking them on a schedule, study after study shows we tend to lie to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so, how do we be as honest as we can and really get an idea of where we stand with what holds us over better?
Okay, so the one thing that other than fructose intolerant, most people need a lot more vegetables. We need more plant-based foods, and honestly, over the years, I've worked with people on a lot of different lifestyles.
Sure.
On how to nourish their body. And some people are just devoted to a vegetarian diet, and it works great for them. And I know other people that have tried that, and they just are craving more proteins. So first, you kind of have to know what your overall pattern's going to be. But regardless of your pattern, get as many plant-based foods in there as you can. So, and vegetables, there's tremendous variety. All the different colors in vegetables and fruit aren't food dyes. They're phytochemicals. They're pigments that provide beneficial things for our bodies as well. So, getting more plant-based foods in there, I think, is the way to start. So if I'm thinking about my diet, when do I get vegetables? When do I get fruits? Do I get, one fruit a day, using the pear on my sandwich instead of jelly
Sure.
or sugar on my sandwich? That's a good swap. Where can I get more of those plant-based foods? And if I'm not eating something plant-based, pretty pure plant-based, meaning a fruit or vegetable that's either fresh or frozen or canned without a bunch of stuff added to it. If I'm not eating that at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'm probably missing the mark. So that's the place where you want to look first. If you say, oh gosh, all that I like is corn, that's the only vegetable I like, then I say you probably haven't tried anything different for a really long time. So when there are sampling opportunities, or really buy a mango for $1,
Sure.
and you if you need help with knowing how to cut it up, ask somebody at the store. They'll give you some help with how to prepare things.
So that wouldn't have to be asking the dietitian.
Yeah, just ask the guys at the store.
Obviously, we want to plug to folks need to be in contact with the dietitian, but the folks who work in the produce aisle?
Absolutely. And if the guy, if you're in there at 8 o'clock at night and they don't know, they can get a message and I'll call you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is, so in that produce aisle, because, you said grab a mango and, and try it out. Do they ever have times where they have things like that for tasting? Do you know what what I mean?
But, you probably, a lot of times on Saturdays they do stuff. We were going to plug this at the end, but we are actually having a health fair on Saturday where there'll be some tasting opportunities.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Good deal.
And I don't know if you shop at Hy-Vee and Brian and Toby and Mel and those guys.
Yep.
They'll take, if you want to say, gosh, I wonder if these apples are good, they'll just take one out.
Cut it up and
and let you try it.
Let
you try
That's
it.
awesome.
So they're really great about that.
Okay. I didn't know there was something going on Saturday, so that folks, that was like not a setup.
So stay tuned to the end of the show.
Right.
Yeah, to get the details.
This is your cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You know what they say, always leave them wanting more.
There you go.
Yeah. So there's such a variety of produce that and if you don't like preparing it, go to the frozen foods aisle and just check out. Vegetables are probably not the place where you're spending the bulk of your food dollar. If you're spending your food dollar, sorry, local carbonated beverage people, but if that's what you spend a bulk of your food dollar on, then lighten up on some of those things that aren't so good for you and allow some more food dollars to go to some things that are healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I gave up soda a year ago, and I felt so much better by giving that up. I need one thing I want to talk about in a little while is identifying a way of eating and selecting beverages with the approach of no added sugar or minimizing that. So I want to touch on that. But focusing more on the vegetables and get away from the fruit or the fruits, the soda pop, that type of thing.
Exactly.
It's made me feel, I can't describe how quickly I felt a lot better.
Okay.
So.
And I'm not one to give up anything. I'm not vegetarian. I drink pop on occasion, usually almost always diet because I just don't like the syrupy kind of flavor. But I think that you can live very healthy and eat a huge variety of foods.
Sure.
Yes. Here we go.
She said another thing that was on my list of questions.
All right.
So we're talking about soda, which is like a hot button for everyone. And the big hot button these days seems to be artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
So, there's this whole, because didn't Pepsi now come out with a diet soda that doesn't have whatever artificial sweetener you're not supposed to have?
Okay, so there are multiple kinds of artificial sweeteners used in the beverage industry. Do you remember Tab?
Yes.
Are you old enough to remember drinking Tab back in the 80s or whatever? And it really had a strong aftertaste. That's because they used one artificial sweetener. What they have figured out in the industry is if they use smaller amounts of multiple sweeteners, you don't get that strong aftertaste. So there's a sulfamine potassium. There's the NutraSweet. There's saccharin, that's used. There are several different sweeteners that are used, so you don't get that strong of an aftertaste.
Well, but there's one in particular that I'm thinking of, and I cannot remember the name of it, where people are like, it's bad for you, that like you shouldn't have it. What is it? Come on, Corey, help me.
We're playing mental charades here.
Yeah,
yes.
I know. I'm trying to think of what one.
Can't think what it would be.
I can't think of any of them that are actually good for you.
Oh, okay.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah. So they're all a chemical that is produced. Are you thinking
stevia?
No, I'm thinking stevia might be the one that is good for you or better for you.
And that's a matter of opinion.
Oh, okay.
I know people who have had horrible reactions to stevia and have been told by their doctor, never use that product.
Oh.
So, and stevia is a natural substance, but the fact that it's processed and it's so concentrated, it has to be carried with something. So what it's carried with, if it's maltodextrin, or different things, that's might make a difference too.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Yeah.
I love it when callers call in and help me out.
And she had the answer?
She said, the word you're looking for is aspartame.
Aspartame.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm like, yes, it is. Mental
now, see,
charades.
that person is really good at mental charades because they can't even look at you like we are.
You couldn't even see me. Thank you very much. But you do hear that. I mean, you hear a lot of bad things about aspartame and how you're not supposed to have it and the things that it does in your body. Do you find those to be true, Nancy?
I think that the body of science that we have doesn't show. When they test those products, they test them in large amounts on rodents typically.
Okay.
So to say what the safe level is probably hard to define, and usually based on body weight. I would say it's not a natural substance. It's not something that I want to put a lot of in my body. So, and some people do have,
so everything in
some
moderation.
people do have a definite reaction to some of those products, just like they would to a medication.
Sure.
It's a chemical that you're putting in your body that your body wasn't designed necessarily to be able to deal with it. So some people have a problem tolerating it.
Along those lines, there's been the suggestion of shop on the outside perimeter of the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
Do you, while obviously we don't want to take away from your employer, but when we're looking at revamping our health, is that a good rule of thumb to use or not? Or?
Well, boy, if you shop the perimeter of the store, you're not using a lot of processed foods.
Okay.
So that's a good idea. So let's say I'm on a pretty tight budget and I'm feeding my family as well as I can on my budget.
Sure.
If I have fresh green beans that are $4 a pound and frozen green beans that would be the equivalent of about, maybe $2.50 or $3 a pound, and I can get 3 cans of canned green beans for $1,
right,
I'm going to go for those canned green beans because I can provide that. I can provide that vegetable. So it just depends on the perimeter of the store is a great way to shop. I don't have any problem using, I don't always use dried legumes. I might buy a can of black beans and rinse it, and I'm perfectly good with that. The thing that you want to watch for are the products that have a lot of added ingredients. There's a difference between buying celery or buying cream of celery soup. Okay? If I'm making a dish, why do I want to add that? Why do I want to add that product to it? Could I not make that casserole type dish more like a stir fry type dish and just have it, instead of doing it as a casserole and making it creamy and putting it in the oven, maybe I could do my meat and vegetables and kind of stir fry it and serve it over rice instead of doing it like a casserole. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And that would also, I am not a cook.
Okay.
In fact, my wife knows to even get me to drop by the grocery store is a struggle. So
you need a very specific list.
But I have to assume that a stir-fry approach versus that casserole approach would also cut down on carbs. Is that?
Yeah, it would cut down on carbs and fat. Time preparation. It would be a lot faster kind of meal, and it would just depend on the proportions and how you put it together. But yeah.
Okay. And you talked about processed. The center of the grocery store might or tends to be more processed. Does that hold true in the frozen food aisle?
Oh, boy. With frozen foods, it just depends on what you're looking at. But if you're looking at, like, vegetables for the frozen food department, when they have a time frame when they pick things and they have to get it processed and frozen. So that is I would not consider that a highly processed food. I think that'd be a great choice. Okay, and there are some frozen dinners. Some are better than others. We can talk about that.
As opposed to the frozen chicken fries and the chicken pieces.
What's a chicken fry?
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Ooh, I just saw a recipe for avocado fries the other day.
Avocado fries,
yeah.
Okay.
Now, I'm not an avocado fan, but I know that avocados are very good for you.
They are, but why do I want to fry my fat?
Oh no, they were baked, okay. But it was it was like how they did it on, but they were fried. Welcome back to the Western Drug Health and Wellness Series. Dr. Corey Garvin is here. He's hosting Nancy Dew, dietitian out at your Muscatine Hy-Vee. Welcome back, guys. And I want to say thanks to everyone who's texting in. They're like, aspartame. Millie, it's aspartame. Like several people have done. Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Blank.
Community support.
People are listening. That's what matters.
That's right.
And we do have more questions coming in off the text line as well. I just wanted to let you guys know that folks are listening.
Awesome.
It's a good thing.
That was actually a test.
Right.
Exactly.
It was a quiz. Yeah. You passed. Good job.
We talked a little bit about shopping outside on the perimeter of the grocery store, and then we moved into the frozen food a little bit. A question that was raised down at the pharmacy is, how do we become a label reader? Labels can be intimidating because we don't really know necessarily always what we're reading or what we're looking at, let alone being able to pronounce some of the words. So what's your advice on if I'm not a label reader right now, how do I move down the road to becoming a label reader and selecting my food?
Okay, let's start with the ingredient list. Okay, so go through that ingredient list and see how many words there are that you have no idea what it was. If it are many things, I mean, there are some things like sodium bicarbonate. That's baking soda.
Sure.
You know, and that usually they say salt instead of sodium chloride. But there are some. But if there's a lot of things on there that you wouldn't have in your kitchen, then I would think twice about if that's something that I'm going to use. When you're looking at the nutrition facts panel, that's going to vary depending on what someone's goals are for their, how important it is to look at sodium, how important it is to know how much carbohydrate. Like I said, if there's a lot of carbohydrate, this is just my rule of thumb. It's not a professional standard. But if for every 15 to 20 grams of carbohydrate, I like to see about 3 to 5 grams of fiber. If it's a lot lower than that, I'm probably not going to be too interested in that product unless it's something that I know is just going to be really nutrient dense, like, I don't know, butternut squash or sweet potatoes or something like that. Okay. So otherwise, you don't want to see any trans fat. That's probably one of the best things to zero in on and see that it's zero. When you look at trans fat, if it says zero, but it's something that's a really, really high fat food like a margarine, then you look down in the ingredient label, and if you see the word hydrogenated anywhere, not a good thing. Okay.
All right.
The labeling laws for trans fat, which are really strongly associated with vascular disease or the development of plaque in our blood vessels.
Right.
The labeling laws, if there's less than half a gram of trans fat per serving of the product, they can say zero. You'll never see 0.4 or 0.3 grams of trans fat. It'll be 0.5 or higher or zero. So it depends on how much you're using of the product. You could actually end up getting quite a bit of trans fat. So,
and that word was hydrogenated.
Hydrogenated.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's as far as the fats go. For the carbs, you want to see a significant amount of fiber, a lower sugar content if possible, and then just depending on what the food is, the protein content is going to vary tremendously. Some foods just aren't real high. Vegetables are not real high in protein, so you're not going to see a lot. There's some,
sure,
but you're not going to see a lot. Fruit has basically no protein. That doesn't make fruit not healthy,
right?
So and then it kind of just depends on what your goals are. If you need to cut back on sodium or other things.
Now, Nancy, you've thrown out a lot of great information here, but I got to thinking about the fact that we didn't preface this for folks that, hey, get your notebook out. We're going to throw you some good information. Is this something that you work with folks in terms of
absolutely.
They can just stop in and ask to speak with you, and can they call in to you?
Absolutely. We probably, Kara Zigament and I are the two dietitians at the Muscatine Hy-Vee store. Probably what we do most with people is what we call a store tour. A store tour
I've heard of
is
this.
free. It's a free service, and depending on what somebody's goals are, we'll walk around the store and point out things, show them how to look at that nutrition facts panel and zero in on the things that they're concerned about. So if somebody says, the doctor told me I really got to cut back on my salt. All right, well, we'll talk about how you can make meals and keep your sodium intake at the at an appropriate level. Or same thing with carbohydrate. If someone has diabetes, a lot of times, we'll zero in on carbohydrate.
Or cholesterol issues.
Absolutely,
any of those.
Whatever it is. And then we'll design or we'll show them products. And I am so grateful to work for someone that lets me give that to the public for free.
Sure.
That's a very good service.
And I have to imagine that folks can probably do that more than, it's not a one and done type thing.
Oh, absolutely not.
That
absolutely.
They can always refer back to you.
And oftentimes you build on that. You do like this basic thing, especially for someone with diabetes. You'll build on that basic thing first about, maybe they've seen Kay Temple out at Trinity. She's the registered dietitian at Trinity, and she's done a full nutrition assessment, and she's telling them you need to eat 45 grams of carbohydrate a meal. Then if they need some new ideas on how to apply that, then, Kara and I can provide that service.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The other thing that I wanted to say was everyone can thank me now. I'm recording this. So we will.
That's even better.
We will, get the recording out there and we'll post it up on our Facebook page. We can provide it to you. You could put it on your website.
That'd be great.
I don't know if you guys have the ability to post things like that out.
I have no idea.
Nancy's going to find out about that. But we'll have it so folks could listen to the broadcast.
I would have to guess that Hy-Vee's large enough that somewhere in the corporation, somebody's got the skill that they can
take care of
they can do that.
Post that on your Facebook page maybe, or, whatever.
Yeah.
So. But we'll link you when we post it.
Okay.
Perfect. What about, how do our nutritional needs change as we age?
Good question.
Right.
Good question.
Did you come up with that one on your own?
That was me. I pat myself on the back.
Good job.
I'm done, folks. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, right. That was worth the price of admission.
I
right
get the
there.
whole day off.
Nutritional needs. Boy, that's, we go through the stages. Obviously, our needs are greater when we're growing. But after we get, and it depends on what our activity level is too. But we lose the need for calories every year that we're alive. I'm thinking it's after about the age of 30. Our nutritional needs go down a little
Millie,
bit.
we're not there yet.
Yeah, there
Oh,
you
goodness,
go.
no.
No, you and I have a long ways to go.
No idea what she's talking about.
But when you get there,
Millie and I are
when
the
you
same
get
age,
there,
Nancy. That's why this has been a joke
Exactly
on the
the
radio
same age,
before.
yeah.
So.
when you get there, you just need to realize that the amount of food that you need is less than you did a few years ago, and try being satisfied with less food. Maybe you don't need to eat the same quantity that you did when you were 20, not that you guys, are there yet, but realizing
Isn't
that
she
you
awesome?
You just don't need
She's the
to
best.
take
Is there
in.
money passing hands here? What's happening? I don't know.
All right, you said try to be satisfied. If I go for several days in a row of eating less, do I get more satiety out of that? I mean, how do you try to become more satisfied? Because
Eating slower?
I can try, but if I'm still hungry,
good one.
Slowing down, just
Okay.
not eating so quickly, so you are actually getting the sensation of satisfaction.
Turn your
Eating-
TV off. Don't eat in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Corey, I don't know if you're...
Not
I
eating
don't know if
till
he's
you're
doing that.
full. You don't have to eat till you're full. That's for Thanksgiving, okay? That's for for the really special,
Sure.
holiday parties or whatever. The rest of the time, eat till you're satisfied. Eat till you've had enough.
because we're
Chances-
usually full before our brain senses that we're
before
full.
we realize it. Yeah. So if you have, what you would normally portion out for your meal, try putting maybe 2/3 of that on your plate. Eat it slowly and enjoy it. Savor those flavors and the things that you're eating. And then just not having so much. See if that, if you're okay. Are you okay till breakfast the next day?
Sure.
If you eat a little bit less dinner? It's those small amount of calories that add up. What is it, 100 calories a day? 100 calories a day. That's a minuscule amount of calories. Can be 10 pounds in a year. 10 pounds that you put on.
That you add. Yeah.
Or 10 pounds that you don't put on. Or
Sure.
10 pounds that you take off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned eating slower. I've never been to Italy. I've never been to France, but I've been told that those cultures tend to make more of an event, and I if I'm wrong, I apologize, but make more of an event out of a meal. They slow down. They enjoy that time. Is that? Can you speak to that? Is that?
Whoa, absolutely. You know, we
do we eat too fast as Americans?
Most, I think. Yeah, I think so. You know, we're rushed.
Sure.
We're rushed all the time, you know, and you know, I'm guilty of eating quickly too, but I have a pretty good sense of what's the right amount of food for me, you know, to eat when I'm hungry. I don't eat lunch just because it's a certain hour, which was hard for me because that's how I was raised. You have breakfast, you know, God love my mom and dad. You know, we sat down at the breakfast table together and at lunch together and at supper together. And there were certain times that you ate and, you know, and that was it.
Sure.
But my habits now are to eat when I'm hungry. And I'll tell you, by supper time, I'm hungry. I'm not starving, but I'm ready to eat. I just don't eat real large amounts through the day, you know, and I might eat twice or I might eat 3 times during the day. It just depends on hunger level. If you have a job that you have a certain time that you have to take your break, then you kind of have to plan for that. But that doesn't mean that you need to have a huge amount of food at that break time. You know, unless you're on a medication that makes your blood sugar drop, if you're on diabetes, a diabetes medication that is, you know, is going to lower your blood sugar, then you need to be, if you start eating less, you need to be prepared to treat a low blood sugar.
Right.
Okay, that's very important. Point. But most of the rest of us, it doesn't hurt us to get a little hungry. It doesn't hurt us to have that sensation of, okay, I'm really ready to eat when the next opportunity to eat comes up.
Sure. What about these supplements that are advertised all the time? And I hate to call them by name, but just so you know where I'm talking, Boost and Ensure. Those types of products, are they meal replacements? I know that some folks use them as meal replacements.
Yeah, the nice thing about those products is that it's a balance of nutrients.
Okay.
So it's not just protein, it's not just a high protein things, but they have all the vitamins and minerals that a body needs. And they're kind of designed so that you can get 100% of the nutrients that your body needs in about 1,200 calories a day if you were using that solely. So that's the thing. And there are people that just can't tolerate a lot of food. They tolerate drinking some things better than eating a lot. And those products are really helpful for those people. You know, as a meal replacement, there's some protein there. There's nice vitamins there. Is there fiber there? Some of them have a little bit of fiber. I would miss chewing. I like to chew food.
Sure. Yeah.
I like the flavor of things, you know, as you chew and the flavor bursts in your mouth. So it just depends. You know, that's the thing, Corey. Everybody's different. What one person needs is totally different than what someone else needs.
Sure.
So I think there's definitely a place for those products. I think they're a benefit for a lot of people. If you're the person that really enjoys eating a meal and chewing the food, then those products probably aren't real beneficial to you. Maybe if you were super busy and you had that, you know, maybe that would be an application for that.
And that just points to the fact that all of healthcare, really, it's individualized. That's how we need to treat it, not a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Millie, you had a couple questions, or you're getting questions. Do you want to throw some in?
Well, I think we're getting a call. Hold on. Let's do this live on air, see what happens, right?
That'll work.
You are on the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series. Do you have a question?
Yes. Could you tell me if this Premier Protein, it's got 30 grams of protein, would be good for you to drink with a fruit for breakfast?
Okay, sure. Thanks
Good
for the question.
There we go.
And here we go. So those kind of protein products are great for people who need a high amount of protein. I would apply that to someone who has had gastric bypass surgery, where it's hard for them because they're so restricted. Their stomach capacity is so small. It's really hard for them to get adequate protein just because they can't eat very much at a time. So that would be a good application. Some people like to do, like I said before, the real high protein, low carbohydrate kind of plans. Okay, so it would be applicable to someone trying to follow that kind of diet strategy. If you're just looking for good, nutritious breakfast, 30 grams of protein, I mean, that would be half of the protein I need for a whole day. All right. I don't know that I want to get all of that
right.
one shot at breakfast. Serving, yeah. And is that a whole food? No.
Right.
It's one of those processed kind of things. Yeah. But if you fall into those other, if you know your protein status is low, there are blood tests that a doctor can do, and if they say you really need to get more protein, that might be very appropriate for you.
Does our gut function change? Here I am back to picking on age because it worked the first time around. So why not?
Yeah.
Does our gut function change as we age? Do we absorb nutrients as well?
Well, I'll tell you, I know a lot of people that have utilized your cleansing program kind of stuff that have really benefited from that. So, yes, our gut changes with age because it has stuff that it's been dealing with for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably one of the nutritionally, something that happens in our digestive tract is a lot of times we lose the ability to absorb vitamin B12. And that results in what we call megoblastic anemia. So that's, again, a blood test that you can do. But there's this little compound that's released in our stomach called intrinsic factor that changes B12 into a form that can be absorbed. And sometimes as we age, we lose the ability to produce intrinsic factor. And then over time, our B12 status, which our bodies are so wonderful about using nutrients over, revitalizing them, and as much as they can, and using it over again.
Sure. So
sometimes B12 status is something that declines over time, and we might not notice it. So especially in the elderly population, you really want to look at the blood chemistry if you have that available to you, or just be noticeable if someone, might not be thinking as clearly as they used to. They're a little bit more lethargic than they used to. Those can be some symptoms of B12 deficiency that would probably require some kind of supplementation, either from injection, a monthly injection, or, So we got another question?
I do, because that kind of ties into one of the questions that was texted in earlier this morning. So for folks that, so we've talked about sodas, and when you talk about sodas, I think you have to talk about like energy drinks.
Oh, that's a good point.
A lot of different energy drinks out there, and maybe for someone who is aging that is feeling more lethargic than they used, or because there's a lot of reasons that you could be feeling not as peppy as you used to be, which could be due to vitamins and minerals, that kind of thing. But let's say you're into energy drinks, but you're trying to get off your energy drinks. Is there anything in the aisles of Hy-Vee that can help boost our energy? Or is that more of a supplementation kind of? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Okay, so food sources, which is always my go-to, if possible. I don't have a problem with using supplements when it's appropriate, and I definitely don't have a problem with multivitamins because you just get a very basic amount of a lot of nutrients in that. So I don't have a problem with that at all. But usually with energy and lethargy, you associate that one with iron. If someone might have an type of anemia. So, and those are things you go to the doctor for, because you just don't go, to a lab and say, here, draw my blood and tell me what my hemoglobin is. So you go to the doctor for those kind of things. So it could be iron, it could be folic acid, or B12 are common also B vitamins that you can have a deficiency of that would lead to that. And then it's the other B vitamins, the thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, that have a lot to do with the energy cycle that our body uses to actually produce energy. So go back and think about different diets that people follow. If you're on a real high protein diet, you don't do a lot of grain products, that's where a lot of the B vitamins are fortified into our food supply in breads and cereals and those kind of things. So if you're not taking a supplement, absolutely, if you're a vegetarian, if you're a vegan, you have got to find a source of vitamin B12 in a supplement or from nutritional yeast or something, because B12 in nature is only found in animal products. It's not found in any plant products. Okay? So, yeah.
I would throw in there, first off, to consider why one started on the energy drinks to begin with. Obviously, diet's extremely important, but what goes hand in hand with that is one of the primary reasons that we lack energy or we feel fatigued is we don't sleep well.
Right.
We are under a lot of stress. As we age, our hormone levels change. So you throw those three things with your diet, you can't address one without addressing the others. And so if we're not willing to address our sleep cycle, address the stresses in our life, then we're not going to fix our issues just simply by changing our diet.
Right.
It's got to be a healthy lifestyle approach.
So then you start prioritizing. I mean, you know yourself. You know if you sleep adequately or not. If you don't, then that's the thing that you want to visit with your doctor about. How can I, it's not that you're asking for a medication to make you sleep, but you start that conversation with your primary care physician to, these are the things that I know I'm not doing well. What are some things that I can do? And they might send someone for a sleep study to see if they have apnea or if a CPAP machine might help them sleep better at night. They might do blood work to assess. I mean, you just see but those are absolutely...
Communicating is the big thing.
The communicating with your doctor, because those aren't decisions that most of us, we need a physician's help to be able to reach that.
But we also have to be honest with ourselves. Yeah. There seems to be this stigma that there's some pride in, I can go on 5 hours of sleep, which that's great for some people, but at the same time, it's really not healthy for anyone.
Right.
Not long term.
In fact, lack of sleep has been. We know that that's tied to weight gain.
Absolutely.
So we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to be willing to make changes. We can't say, okay, I'm going to, in this case, get off energy drinks by enhancing my diet, but by the way, I'm still only going to sleep 3 to 4 hours a night. Yeah. That's all I'm going to allow myself. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So I think this is a great place for a break. We're going to step away for just a minute, and we'll be back shortly.
Welcome back to the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series. We got 10 minutes before 9 o'clock. We've got to get these things in. Right now, I have a surprise.
Awesome.
I have a surprise for Nancy. I have a lady on the phone who would like to speak with you. Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to thank Nancy for all the time that she takes with people when they come in. And she really does go around the store and help you with things. I've had problems with sodium in the past, and she's helped me a lot with that. Also with the cholesterol, and she's walked me around the store and showed me different products and things that will help. And so I just wanted to know how much I appreciate her and all the help that she gives people.
What a great testimonial.
So nice.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for holding. I know she was walking out the door, and I'm like, no, hold on, tell her on air. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I love it when people do that kind of thing. And you are. There are times that I find her and I haven't even made an appointment and I ask a question. And she always takes time. You have time for folks, as busy as you are.
Which is great.
Can I ask a couple of questions off the text line?
Sure.
You bet.
First one, it says, does blood type or body shape, I never even thought about this, have anything to do with like the type of diet that maybe would be best for you?
There's a book. There's a diet book. Go to the library and ask them, where are all the cookbooks and diet books? You will be amazed. There's a book that's written on your blood type and how that affects diet. And I've looked at it. If you find strategies in there that are helpful for you, that's fantastic. To say there's a lot of wonderful research behind that to support that concept, I'm unaware of that.
That's what's so hard about dieting. I mean, it really comes down to what works because we're all different.
Yeah.
We're all made different. We all process it different.
Right.
So it's hard. You could
our body
shape.
That question is body shape.
Mm-hmm.
That can definitely bring in how our hormone levels.
Really?
We've talked hormones on the air.
Yeah.
The classic pear shape is tends to be someone who's hanging on to estrogen, and so you can adjust your diet based on estrogen. Whether you need an anti-inflammatory diet, those types of things.
Sure.
So yes, those things that you wouldn't think of actually do come into play very handily. That both from the diet and hormone, I mean, many different facets. So.
And another thing that plays in, and we had this on the list to talk about, are probiotics.
Yes.
What you have fed yourself for years, and this is part of that aging process too. What you fed yourself in the past affects the microflora that you have right now in your gut.
Right.
So some of us have a less healthy mix of microflora in our gut, and they cause a lot of problems with digestion, with gas and bloating, and that. Having a healthier microflora or more probiotic things and prebiotics, which is
absolutely.
Prebiotics are the things that are feeding those organisms in your gut. So having the right kind of foods to help your healthy microflora flourish is important.
Right.
It's very important. There's more of them than there is of us in our body. But,
there's more of them in our body than there are
Right.
people on the earth. So
yeah. So
and 70% of our immune system is in our gut lining.
Exactly.
And so if the bacteria that is supposed to be in our gut is not the right mix, the healthy bacteria, then that just sets you up for failure. Just start checking them off, folks.
Right.
Probiotics, prebiotics, absolutely useful, beneficial, and necessary. I wanted to ask you about sugar cravings, if I may.
Okay.
Okay, because it's not just important for folks who have diabetes, but we know that, I'm prone to high triglycerides.
Okay.
Well, sugar
Sure,
is going to
sure.
become my triglyceride issue. So how do I control my sugar cravings and, minimize the amount of added sugar that I have in my diet?
Okay, so minimizing sugar. Let's look at that first, and you're going to look at that nutrition facts panel to find out how much sugar is added to something. All right. Fruits naturally have a lot of sugar. There are so many different sweeteners. Is
there a difference between fruit sugar and the added sugar?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there are different types of carbohydrate, and they're utilized differently in the body. But people need to know that when they buy a product that says sugar-free, all that means is that there is no sucrose, which is table sugar. You buy a 5-pound bag of sugar, that's sucrose. All that sugar-free means is that there is no sucrose in it.
Okay.
It can have all kinds of other sweeteners used in that. And a lot of times sugar alcohols, which is a whole nother topic, can be one of the sweeteners that's used in that. But again, let's just go back to how if your foods are in their natural state. Okay, whether if it's a canned fruit, having something that doesn't have sugar added to it, and that's a place, I don't know why they a lot of times will add Splenda or some other sweetener to a canned fruit that makes it even sweeter.
Oh,
That's the thing about sugar cravings, is that we get accustomed to that flavor. We get accustomed to that sweetness, and then we desire it. Okay, so if you can make yourself deny that sweet tooth for several days, or it might take weeks.
Right.
But if you deny that, your craving for it will diminish. But it's like an addiction a little bit. You just have to say, no, I'm not going to do this, and make yourself stick to it, and then it's going to get easier.
Sure.
I say it's like an addiction a lot.
Yeah.
And it does. It's interesting to me because times that I have taken myself off of sugar for like a month, and then if you have something,
it tastes so sweet.
Yes, it's crazy. How it doesn't necessarily taste good. I mean, you kind of have to like work yourself back into it.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Right, at Christmas. That's why I don't.
Oh.
I have one more. Can we finish it up with one question?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, hold on, because now she texted it. Products that say may cause drowsiness affects me the other way, vice versa. So like people, and so that's more of a question for you,
sure.
Corey,
yeah.
because I have that problem too. Like people that take NyQuil,
yeah.
I don't know what I should say other than NyQuil.
Yeah,
it kind of has the reverse effect on me, and I often can't go to sleep. And I know people that take it to get to sleep.
Sure.
So what's the situation with that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to plug is don't take it to go to sleep.
No, I mean if you're sick or what, unless you want some help sleeping.
But that's that individual thing again, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great question. I will say that, for example, the Benadryl that's in NyQuil or many cold products, children, for example, will react exactly the opposite, or some may react exactly the opposite.
Yes.
Instead of being tired, they get wound up.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you can claim your childhood there.
I learned
Millie.
that the hard way.
Yeah. That's that 20-year-old in you.
So
right on. Exactly. As soon as I mature, it's going to get...
I'd like to, if I may, address that
Table
on
it.
Tuesday
Sure.
when it's the pharmacist show.
Sure.
And out of respect for Nancy, stick back here with I
have a question about maltodextrin.
Maltodextrin?
It says some healthcare products are listing maltodextrin and corn as an herbal blend. How do those qualify as an herbal blend?
Maltodextrin is a carbohydrate that isn't digested. So a lot of times it's a fiber. It's actually put in as a form of fiber. Fiber is simply carbohydrate like sugar that you cannot digest. So it stays intact and just moves through your digestive system. So, and maltodextrins, oh my goodness, GPC is a big developer and producer, I believe, of those kind of products. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, this has been great because so much of what I do and Lucinda does in our practice at Weste Drug incorporates the diet. And, I know that I've referred folks to you, Nancy. Told them to go out and talk to Nancy at Hy-Vee. And so for you to bring this knowledge and, so many things that we do actually cross over.
Yes, they do.
And they blend together.
Yeah.
And that's a hand-in-hand operation, if you will, in terms of making healthcare work for the benefit of the patient.
Right.
And not trying to fix everything with taking another drug.
Right.
So there's something really exciting going on at Hy-Vee. Because I have no other way of turning this conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to shift here. That was my transition, Millie.
Good job.
Awesome. That was great. Segue.
So Saturday.
Tell
us about Saturday.
It's the health of the community. That's what we work towards is the health of individuals. So we're hosting a health fair, and it may seem a little odd, some of the vendors that we have out, but we have people from the community, some organizations coming out. They will be available from 9 o'clock till noon. And I'll just read off the list. We have also added senior resources to the list. But, you wouldn't think Flickinger Learning Center. If you don't have a good place for your kids to go after school,
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
Multiple things play into having health for your children or for the senior resources, for the elderly people in your community or in your family. Blue Zones, absolutely. Jody will be there with Blue Zones because they provide so many wonderful benefits and guidelines for living healthy. Harper's Cycling and Fitness, the Hy-Vee Home Health Care. I think there'll be some information about the CPAPs and some of the services that they provide. The Extension Office will be there, so there'll be gardening information. We are so fortunate. Vera Stokes will actually be in the store for the Extension Office, so I'm really excited about that. The Community Y will be there. And they are also hosting several opportunities to try out yoga or Zumba or a family fitness center. So if you check out what we've got as far as the times for those demonstrations, those will be in our club room. The library will be there. Parks and Recreation will be there. Trinity Public Health is coming out. They'll do blood pressure checks. They've got iSmile programs and some other things that they're gonna be providing information about. The United Way of Muscatine Vision Center. Did I mention Family Eye and Contact Lens Centers? We'll both talk about eye health. And Monsanto is going to come out. I invited them to be there to express their views on GMOs and to have an opportunity. People, it's not all bad. It's good to know that what the other side of that story is. And then that's from 9 to noon. And then from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we're doing food samples all through the store.
Yay.
So it's an opportunity
it's a great
to try.
opportunity to
we have a guy
try
coming out
things.
from Melissa's. If you've ever bought the produce from the company, a lot of our organic produce is from Melissa's. So we'll have a store representative. I know. I'm really excited. So we're just going to have good things all the way around the store.
Yeah. Sounds great. Well, folks, this will take care of the hour, the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series. Nancy, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Corey.
It was fun. And if you have additional dietary questions, don't hesitate to contact Nancy
or Kara.
And you're at the Hy-Vee food store.
Food store. Also at Main Street a couple hours a week.
Oh,
so
okay.
if people want to make an appointment to see us at Main Street, we can absolutely do that.
You can accommodate that as well.
You betcha.
All
and
right.
the phone number out there at Hy-Vee, 264-2420 is how you would get a hold of Nancy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks again, folks, and we'll be back on Tuesday with another guest for the Weste Drug Health and Wellness Series.